All right. I think we're live. All right. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Fans Union for the fans, by the fans. Here on my same lovely ensemble as last week. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. Really means a lot. Um, we'll post the links in the description, but make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube. Links will be below. Really appreciate everybody watching. I know that was a long one. We're not going that long this time, promise y'all. But we will be getting the NFL one out this week as well. But yeah, welcome, fellas. How we feeling? What's going on?
Wonderful. Splendid. Football's back, baby. Can't ask for anything more,
So back.
It's so
It was
back.
a, it was a loaded weekend from both sides. So excited to dive into everything with the guys, especially that Lions game. I can't wait to hear from Trip on that. But of course, that's later on in the week. But good to be back with everybody, of course, man.
Big Squeeze, what's going on, brother?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Going into this week of college football, I know that's the talk of the episode right now. But looking at it from the beginning of the week, I was like, man, this is gonna be a slow week into college football, and we still got some really good games to talk about. So, a lot of unexpected good games, I should say. So I'm excited that we're gonna hear to chat about it.
Yeah, we're going to get into the storm that hit the Southeast, and apparently everybody in the Southeast ability to play football. Talk about some games that we got coming up this weekend, and also talk about the SEC schedule. We know we were talking about the ninth extra game this year, the fellas were, so kind of see everybody's thoughts on that. But first, we're going to start off with our at the end of the episode last week. We did a little pick 'em, one ranked game last week, which we'll get into more this week, where we had the Sooners, Oklahoma Sooners versus Michigan, and Oklahoma ultimately came away with the victory 24-13. So I think Michigan was ranked higher, so technically an upset maybe, but I don't remember what the odds were. I guess I could pull it up, but neither here nor there. Yeah, so my thought, what was going to happen, and I watched probably the first half when it was in the rain delay in the South Carolina game, which we'll get to in a little bit as well. Talk about my experience there. But I kind of had a feeling that, how we were talking about Arch Manning. It's a really tough ask for your first game as a starter to be against Matt Patricia as a defensive coordinator. Probably second on that list, or second or third behind maybe Kirby Smart would be one. Brent Venables, who was the defensive coordinator at Clemson when they were winning championships. He knows how to cause havoc. He knows how to disguise things. And on a rookie quarterback or freshman quarterback, he knows how to make it difficult. And from what I saw, Bryce Underwood, who I still think is going to be really, really talented, he's going to be a fantastic player. I don't really have any worries about that. But I'm looking at it right now, 9-24. 142 yards, no touchdowns, 40.2 QBR. So really rough outing for him. Kind of what I saw coming. I think John Mateer kind of showed he really is going to be in the Heisman conversation. I mean, he was 21-34, threw for just short shy 300. I know he had a kind of a bad pick in there too, but I really think Oklahoma is going to be good this year. I think they were missing that quarterback last year. Got some receiver health finally. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I know me and Logan, we were victorious last week. Graham and Trip losers. All due respect. But
That one, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I felt. From watching what I did of it. And yeah. So take it away, fellas. We'll hear from one of the losers first.
When you put it that way, I guess I might as well jump in. But I figured on this game, I wanted to have a take that might not be the orthodox take that people walk away from with this game, i.e., Bryce not living up to the hype. I was big on the Bryce train going into this game, and of course that's a part of the reason why I'm going first right now. He did not play good enough, but he's a freshman. His first big road game of his college career. Plenty of people have had similar outcomes in that, situation. But my take going away from that is, though, in regards to Michigan as a team, that loss has massive repercussions simply because they only have two ranked opponents on their schedule right now as it stands.
Come on, Michigan
and Ohio State. Yeah, that's Michigan. So Now, you do have a few teams in the mix there that could potentially be ranked when they play. The one that stood out to me is USC, which I think they play later on in October in a few weeks. USC does look like they have solved their quarterback problem, at least with Maivia. So they could potentially be at least, in that 20 to 25 spot when they play Michigan. But that's their only ranked opponent until they play Ohio State in the big game. So that worries me as far as like, how is this team going to find their sense of identity moving forward with the playoffs kind of dwindling in that background because the Big Ten is as thick as it's ever been. So that'll be interesting. Are they going to immediately shift into let's just focus on Bryce's development? We're not necessarily worried about results right now. Let's just worry about getting him into the positions we feel like are going to prepare him for when we are ready. That's going to be what's interesting for me moving forward with this Michigan team.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn to jump in here since I'm the second loser, but we're men here. We're men. We're allowed to say when we're wrong. So a couple really key indicators to me that stuck out of this game. This is one I sat down and watched pretty much from beginning to end over this weekend, mainly because of my Detroit roots and my family would kill me if I didn't. But yeah, I was completely wrong on Bryce Underwood. I thought maybe, this wouldn't get to him as much as I thought it would, like Joey said. 9 of 24 on the day, 37.5% completion. I mean, I don't care what quarterback it is. If you're doing that, you're probably not going to win a ball game. My biggest concern really wasn't from a stat perspective, though. I think it was a lot of what we saw out of Bryce. There was a lot of people that were giving Arch Manning a ton of hell after week 1, and I think Bryce Underwood needs to deserve just as much. Now, Arch has a little bit more experience under his belt in college, obviously, than Bryce does. But a lot of the things I saw that I didn't like out of Bryce were the mechanical side of things, throwing off his back foot a lot of sidearm stuff, not setting his feet, which was causing him to overthrow, a lot of inaccuracies. But again, like Joey said, I think he's a very talented quarterback. I think he's just got time to grow. I think, Graham, your approach to it, maybe they just focus on his development right now and just get through this season while they can. But I do think with this being one of the only ranked opponents that they play, this is a resume killer right here for the end of the year. So Mateer looked great. I think he was the biggest focus of this game. He was responsible for 345 yards just on his own. I think he rushed for like 73 too, but total for 345. But I did have something I wanted to bring up, and I think that this is mainly going to be circulated around Bryce, but I was trying to sit and think, when is the last time in college, especially, in a league like the SEC or the Big Ten, that we've seen a true freshman quarterback come in and actually handle business? I know there are some. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. But
Jameis Winston.
Say that one more time.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, and that was what, 11 years ago?
And I remember watching his first game of that year. I think they played Pitt, I want to say. And I remember one of the announcers saying, "Oh, it's not going to be a bust if he doesn't win the Heisman." And I'm like, this guy has never played college football before. And lo and behold, he wins the Heisman as a freshman. But to pivot from what you say, Trip, yeah, like it's like you got to give him more slack than Arch, just simply because Arch has been a college quarterback for 2 years. He's played legitimate snaps. This is I don't know his exact age, but I'm assuming 18-year-old kid who is being. Is he probably better than their second option? Yes. But did he have no choice but to play because they're paying him $12 million? Yes. So I think you're going to have to see a lot. He's going to go through a lot of self-inflicted, that may not be the right word, but he's going to have to go through a lot of mandatory growing pains because of that dollar sign, which is kind of unfair to him. But this is an elite talent, and it came with an elite dollar sign. So those expectations, people like us, we're going to have high expectations because, you don't get that dollar sign and then, not expect that to come with it. So I think he's going to be fine. But like you said, there's a lot of stuff that the speed of the game, that transition, I think really affects a lot of it. So, but yeah,
if Arch had to finish out that entire SEC championship game that he got subbed in and subbed out of, when Quinn was able to, come back in, I think he would have had a very similar stat line finishing up that game. And I don't want to get into comparing apples and oranges. I don't want to sit here and, get into the specifics of comparing that Georgia defense to Oklahoma defense. But Oklahoma at home being led by Brent Venables, like you added, earlier, Joey, he had those boys flying like bats out of hell on that field. And I'm going to be honest with you. When they whooped Alabama's ass last year, he had them boys flying around like bats out of hell on that field. When they play at home, Oklahoma is starting to get that juice back as far as being able to take advantage of what it is that they have to offer from all those fans and that environment that they have out there in Norman, man. So I think that's an environment that any true freshman would have struggled in. And your team would have to be a little bit, maybe a lot better than Bryce's team was, surrounding him to be able to get him out of there with a dub. So yeah, but either way, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Logan.
I think my biggest takeaway from this game is Oklahoma. And I say that because to touch on what you guys were saying about Bryce Underwood, 9 of 24, not very good, obviously. But I'm looking at their rushing yards, and Justice Haynes led them. He's got 19 carries for 125, and his long was for 75. So you take that away, he's got 18 carries for 50. He's got one big one, and that's about it. So I'm kind of on the Venables hype train right now. Looks like Venables is establishing himself at Oklahoma. It's a scary sight for the rest of us SEC fans. It's going to be another juggernaut, maybe. Who knows? I mean, it's still early, obviously. But my biggest takeaway, because Bryce Underwood's a freshman, like we're all talking about, he's going to have his growing pains. But what Oklahoma on defense was able to do, and I think the most impressive part is, like you're saying, Mateer is out here rushing for 74 yards and 2 tuds. He threw for 270 with a tud. And Jaden Ott was a transfer from Cal. I don't know if you guys remember, 2 years ago, Jaden Ott was a dog at Cal. Like, he was super good at Cal. Yeah. So if they can get that man rolling, and then
did he have Mendoza? Did he have Mendoza throwing to him that season?
Don't remember off the top of my head. That sounds right.
Yeah, I was Mendoza is at Indiana now, but he balled out for Cal when he was there as well. I mean, he had a couple schools looking at him in the portal. So to bring up your point with him and Ott, it was a couple killers on that Cal team.
Yeah, I mean, us being a fan of Justin being over there at the time. It's like you're keeping a close eye, and I'm just seeing Jay Ott run for 1,000 like it's nothing. So that's one thing that's like I'm keeping an eye on. I mean, he had 4 rushes for 9 yards. That's not Jaden Ott. If Jaden Ott gets back to where I know last year he had a down year, injuries and whatnot, but if he gets back to where he was 2 years ago, Oklahoma on offense could be a problem. And then you got Venables running their defense. That's also a problem. So I think I had Oklahoma kind of in that tier of like the same as like a Tennessee, Arkansas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, like a team that could win 10 or 11 games, but also could win 7 or 8. This is a big stepping stone for Oklahoma, where I think they might be one of them 10 or 11 to win teams after this week. I mean, it's still early, but
do we think that Michigan team is good enough to deserve that hype? That's the only thing I want to ask you when we kind of make that notion.
I mean, we don't. It's week. It's week 2. It's still early, so you don't really know quite yet. But it's like this is your first real test, so they didn't really play with their food. They took care of business.
I also think this game was a lot closer than the box score will tell you. Oklahoma had 2 turnovers in the game. Michigan just could not capitalize. I mean, a lot of that goes to credit of Oklahoma's defense, because from what I saw the entire game, it was blitz package after blitz package after blitz package. Their game plan was clear. We're going to take care of Bryce Underwood, and the rest will take care of itself. So obviously the whole thing's not on Bryce, of course, but this was a 1-score game for 80 to 85% of the game. I think Oklahoma got up by 2 scores early in the first quarter or right at the beginning of the second, and it didn't turn into a 2-score game until the very end of the game. So Michigan's defense kept them in that game. Although Mateer still performed and they still put up a decent amount of points, I think if Bryce just would have played decent, this wouldn't even been the score that we saw. So, but yeah, I think Michigan with their defense can save them in a lot of games. That's the way I think about it.
And that's something that's kind of been a part of their identity. Like they've always been a very smash mouth football team. Even when Harbaugh was there, like, they never had the most glamorous offense, but still kind of grind it, and that's always been pretty indicative of their defense. And, with Sherrone Moore being there, who was under that Harbaugh tree, that's one of those characteristics I think just doesn't leave a place as long as somebody who upholds said standard and is still in the building. So, yeah. So, I mean, all great points. Graham, kind of to your thing, I think playing well is playing well, no matter, who it is one thing. Michigan, they're still going to have the talent, maybe not of one of those top tier SEC schools that Oklahoma's got to play down the road. There's still going to be some guys on that sideline. I mean, this is still a great recruiting pipeline. Sure. So, I think that's definitely part of it. Anything else you guys want to add on to this? We're going to go ahead and get into some more of the games from this weekend.
Now let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, let's roll.
Cool. All right. Well, Logan, we're going to give you a little break right here. We're going to get into talking about the dogs real quick. So,
No,
Georgia.
he gets to talk about the dogs too. I want to hear him. I want to hear him talk about the
Okay.
dogs.
All right. Yeah. I was
I
just
love hearing Logan's opinion on the dogs if he
Yeah.
was able to watch the game this weekend.
everybody's gonna listen. Like, hey, how come he's the only one who wasn't shouting and crying? You wouldn't understand.
I'll say I can give my opinion, but I did not watch. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Well, so final score for that, I'm gonna get everything pulled up right here, but final score for that was 28-6 against Austin P, which you would expect. Those games are funny. No matter what, is you as a fan, you're ready to see sometimes a 52-0 blowout. Sometimes if it's anything less than that, you're kind of like, I don't really know. And did they play well, X, Y, and Z? But again, as was kind of a reoccurring theme, that was a part of that Southeastern Funk where a game was delayed by hours. I mean, they moved the game up to 2:30 from 3:30. The second half didn't kick off until 6:02, I think, with the weather. A lot going on there. But prior to that, there was some bad stuff going on. I went back and did some watching. I was driving up to South Carolina, so I was listening on the radio. And I think we all pretty much all got discouraged at the same point. When you get a pick from your star corner. When I say star, they're all really good, but recruiting star. Ellis was number 1 in the country 24/7 composite when he got recruited. He gets that big pick, which for Georgia fans, we've been that's what we've been ready to see is Ellis make a big play. He did that, and then we get down. Penalties do some things. We get down and the 5-yard line inside the 5-yard line, have 6 attempts at the end zone, don't score one, bad timeouts, whatever that could be. But that's frustrating to see when you're playing a team where the recruiting or the talent, is this overwhelming. That's something it's got to happen. Unfortunately, Ethan Barber, freshman tight end, it seems to be out for the year with an ankle injury. I don't know if that's been officially announced, but everybody's kind of assuming that. But some things that I kind of took away from it is, and I think you guys are probably all going to allude to as well, is the lack of explosiveness sometimes is really frustrating, especially when we had, Stetson who would let it fly, Carson Beck who could let it fly, and then Gunnar Stockton, was I don't. It just looked like he was a little scared to move it down the field. And I think as fans, especially everybody always wants to see the backup until the backup comes in. And I think we've kind of all got that fever right now. And I think it all stems from the cats on the podcast saying, man, you also see Puglisi, he can swing it, which we've seen him and he can. But I think, that battling doesn't really help. And when you see those few plays where you're like, hey, you've got to let it rip. It seems like maybe he knows Puglisi is kind of behind his back, doesn't want to make a mistake. Because the big thing about Puglisi you hear about is he makes turnovers in practice because he's flinging it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's what he's doing. So from what I saw, and I think I'm learning this especially from being with South Carolina. Whenever offenses look bad, everybody looks at the offensive coordinator, no matter what it is. I know you guys think I'm a Mike Bobo, fan number 1, which is not really the case. But I think a lot of the issues I saw were not coaching; they were execution. I mean, just a lot of there was some loafing going around. I mean, there's really stemming, I think, from the quarterback being fragile, which is not fun to watch. But these games are always going to be very vanilla, very let's run the ball, do minimal things as we can. But when we don't do that well, and that's what we're supposed to do well, that's frustrating to see. So that's kind of my tidbit. We'll go from there. But either one of you fellas want to go ahead and let it rip?
Trip, take us away.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just going to be, I feel like beating a dead horse, but a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things. Well, first, let me start off.
We don't have anything against horses, man. Before anyone gets carried away, we don't got nothing against animals at all. But yeah,
shout out Seabiscuit.
We about to whoop this horse's ass tonight.
Yeah. I feel bad for this horse that's about to be brought up for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
This horse is
starting
cooked.
Things off. If Joey was Mike Bobo's first cousin, wouldn't be surprised. You guys will learn that as the year goes on.
I'm worried he's a son-in-law at this damn point, man.
No, but all jokes aside, I think Joey hit on a lot of great points. These games aren't meant to open up the playbook by any means. So, the main focus of this, and I believe I talked on this multiple times last week, is just the execution aspect. I think we got a lot of that from the defense this week, only giving up 196 total yards. I think they performed really well. Again, the big turnover by Ellis, love seeing that one. A lot of this just came, I'm going to always circle back to Gunner. I mean, because the ball was ran very well on Saturday, over 190 yards on the ground total for the day, I think across 6 or 7 different ball carriers as well. So not really too worried about that. My thing about Gunner right now is he looks like he is just resorting to the easiest option on these plays. It looks like he's not taking a lot of extra reads, and he's very quick to bounce out of the pocket. Now, I don't blame him for that because this offensive line is very beat up right now. He might not feel as confident in that pocket with what's going on with that offensive line, but it seems like he's either checking down a lot or he's bouncing out of the pocket the second he gets the opportunity, once that secondary starts to go into their next level. So there's a lot of tape. It's easy to watch tape as a fan and be like, why didn't he throw that there? Well, you're not on the ground throwing the ball like he is. So a lot of deep opportunities that he missed out on. And those are the kind of things I want to see in these games against FCS opponents. Is just taking a chance on first down just to let one rip.
Let it rip.
Yeah, and we haven't seen that at all. And maybe that's Bobo's plan, is to not even give that kind of tape to the next opponents that we got with the slate coming up. But overall, just look, kind of vanilla. And which, again, like Joey said, is expected against FCS opponents. I'm just, really curious, which I know we'll get into the preview of against Tennessee here shortly. We're all very anxious to see what's going to happen with what Mike Bobo is going to bring to the table next week. So.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess to carry off your point in regards to the offense, because I do think there's two obvious sides that comes with evaluating this game, both defensively and offensively. Gunner, to me, I wouldn't say that he necessarily lacks the confidence that's necessary to lead the offense, but I do at a couple times in each game that I've been able to see him play, worry about the confidence that he has within his throws. There's obvious throws on tape where he's stepping in with real confidence and gusto in the throw that he's delivering. And the show, it shows on tape. There's pop in those throws. And then there's also throws on Gunner's tape that are simple, that have some flutters to them. And I do think the play calling does play a tremendous role into these things. For a team that was the dead, categorically considered last team in drops last year in the nation, to not get all the wide receivers that they plan on incorporating throughout the year, at least somewhat involved, getting 2-3 targets coming out of this game is immensely disappointing to me. How is there not some type of what can I say? There's no type of cohesion in my eyes when it comes in correlation to like solving the issues that we had last year when it comes to offensively calling games the way that we did this last Saturday against them. I would really have emphasized trying to getting through proficiently that 2-minute offense. We didn't do that.
There's no doubt that was bad.
We did in this game, like going into Neyland, there's no way that we could walk away from it and not say that we didn't lay an egg in that regard. But defensively, I will say this: the guys that we've been rotating in have all seemed to be fitting the same philosophical belief as far as like setting the edge. Kirby and a lot of the defensive staff all spoke all off season about how much of an emphasis they wanted to put on setting the edge. And guys like Gabe Harris are leaders, but you can even see with some of these underclassmen, they all, put a huge emphasis on setting the edge. And I think that that's going to be really big going into this week against Tennessee, because that's a team that evolves their passing offense's development off of their success from running the ball, especially on the edges with those good backs that they have. So, obviously it's going to be an interesting week of practices, but I'd love to hear, what else you got to, say about the game as well, Joey.
Chris, speaking of edge, dude, Chris Cole,
man,
when he's on the field, dude, he looks like it's almost like LeBron on the field. Like he got massive.
It's getting to a point where you have to wonder, is Chris Cole the most talented player on that defense? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I've seen him successfully play in 3 positions now. I'm almost wondering if Jonell gets hurt, are they going to run him at nickel? Because I think he could do it. He's excellent in coverage, man. I mean, he's really a great player, dude.
Who's really been impressing me? Like Elijah Griffin.
Oh yeah,
Dude, he's been monstrous. The effort's been nonstop.
he's looked really good. Good
Um,
motor, good push off the block.
yeah, he's been fantastic. Honestly, this defense has really been doing all the things, that I've been wanting to see. I mean, obviously, when the backups were in, they got the touchdown against Marshall, but I mean, they kept these guys out the end zone the whole game.
Yeah, for sure.
Battling, poor field position. When Nate Frazier, that fumble, which obviously, that's something we're going to talk about. We really want to see that improve because that's the problem stemming from last year. But this defense, man, thinking about defense that translates to me, no matter who you're playing, is being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there and tackling. These guys are doing all of that. I mean, I think you're looking at potentially 4 pro corners between Harris, Everett, Jones, and Robinson. I think those are 4 guys you're going to see in the NFL. Like this team, this defense looks like the defense last year had so much talent. Obviously, there was something missing that I can't really explain. I don't know if it was
It
ferocity.
was Chaz Chambliss taking up Chris Cole's reps, but no, I'm being funny, but I do think that with some of those ongoing guys who either went on to the league or finished up with college ball, these young cats, man, as well as Justin Williams, tons of guys that we're not going to be able to go on and name. Them on those rotations and just keeping the older guys fresh is going to continue to pay dividends, and we know we're going to have to hang our hat on that when it comes to how we plan on going up to Neyland. We're going to have to plan on shutting this offense down and keeping them from going on these super long drives and obviously shutting down explosive plays because we don't know what to expect from the offense to play it safe, at least.
Yeah, we never played them this early. So I'm really interested to see that. We're going to talk about it a little later down the line. Logan, let me ask you this. So obviously, you said you didn't watch the game. That's fine. But who was it Ole Miss played? Remind me.
Kentucky.
Okay, it just went into my head. Obviously,
yeah. I mean, we're leading the SEC.
One of those teams.
1-0.
Yeah,
Number
there you go.
Hey,
1-0 in the SEC. There you go. Well, tell me, when you guys obviously played Georgia State last week, what is it that you want to see from your team in those games? Is it you want to see big play offense? Do you want to see just domination? You want to see? I mean, what is it that you kind of look for in those games like Georgia just had?
I would say it depends the year. Like this year, going against Georgia State week 1, my first thing is quarterback. We got a 19-year-old quarterback. This is first real get at it. I think it's his first start. And going into that game, I mean, obviously, once again, the way that man came in against Georgia, that man's looking like the second coming of fucking Tim Tebow. Like he's about to put the team on his back. You know what I'm saying? So obviously that's a very small sample size. But going into that game, my main thing is composure. When he did throw a couple picks, how does he bounce back? And honestly, once you get through those first 15 plays, which is what he did against Georgia, which is how he opened the game against Georgia State, for me, it's kind of when you're out of your first 15 plays and you're really having to get into the rhythm of the game when defense is countering everything you're doing, how do you bounce back to that? But I mean, there's some year, last year, my biggest thing, we had Dart. I knew what we had in Dart. I knew Dart's a dog. So my biggest thing I'm looking for is rushing. Quinshon Judkins left, went to Ohio State. That was a huge blow. I know he's a locker room problem, but that man had the most talent at running back I've ever seen at the University of Mississippi, and that's saying a lot. We've had a couple good ones. But so last year, rushing. Hey, deuce is loose, baby. So last year, I'm looking at rushing, how's our rushing? Ulysses Bentley was supposed to be the one stepping in. The year before, he led our team in yards per carry. So that was exciting, but then he's coming into the year hurt. We had Logan Diggs come from LSU. He stayed hurt all year, which this year he's getting a little more action. So I would just say it depends that year, who you have coming back and what your real focus is. Because we all know going into the year what your weakness might be. This year, obviously, Ole Miss had tons of turnover. I mean, half of our team went to the NFL, which is a great thing, but then you're kind of left there just empty-handed. So luckily, Kiffin hits the transfer portal hard, brings in a couple of recruits as well that helps. But I think it's a year-to-year kind of thing. For me this year, I didn't watch this game, but I'm pulling up the stats. First thing I see is Stockton had 227. So I'm oh, he was throwing the ball a little bit, but then I see he has 26 completions, and I'm he's dinking and dumping. That's not what I want to see from Stockton against Austin Peay. I'm looking. His long is 23 yards. It's kind of like Tripp saying, let that thing go, man. Also, I'm an Ole Miss fan, man. All we have is gunslingers. I'm all right. You're talking about the backup. I don't want to butcher his last name. I don't know how to say it. You're talking about the backup being a gunslinger.
Puglisi.
when I hear that, I'm like, put his ass in the game. Let's see what he's slinging, you know? Because, I mean, I'm used to your Bo Wallace's, Chad Kelly's, Eli Manning's, your Matt Corral's, your Jackson. I mean, they're just unleashing. Like, if an Ole Miss quarterback throws for 300, I don't even look at that. I'm just like, all right, another day at the office. Versus, you know, when y'all had Beck throwing for 300, I'm like, damn, Georgia got a quarterback. They're not just running it down people's throats, you know? So it's like complete opposite sides of the spectrum when we're talking about our offenses and what we're used to. But seeing the stat line, that doesn't say everything I'm aware, but we got to see Stockton uncork some, you know? Maybe he did. And they
Okay, you giving me PTSD because one thing I will say about Beck is regardless of some of the indifferences we have with him as a fan base, man, something about him and Monken forced us to be kind of like more of a pro-focused, pro-centric type of offense and incorporating things that just feel a little bit more like they translate to having an offense that can get you out of a tight situation. It's yet to see with Gunner, obviously. But to Logan's point, I do think a player's ability, especially in college, to grab a game by the horns and just say, I'm about to let my talent prevail and get guys in positions to help us win by throwing them there. You know what I'm saying? It seems like Gunner's receivers have to kind of run him into big plays. But either way, I'd love to hear what Tripp have to say about this as well.
No, yeah. I mean, I think one of the most important points Logan made is what does a team want to see year by year, right? And I think coming into this year, Gunner was one of those question marks. So that's, I think, probably the most, I don't want to say frustrating because we're still winning these games, but, you know, we want to see Gunner sling the ball down the field. We saw him make those throws late in the season when he didn't have a choice but to. So we want to see that to be a continuous motion so we know what to expect when it comes to things like Tennessee. But aside from that, I mean, at least we have people that believe in Gunner. I think this team is behind Gunner. It's very obvious that Kirby is a big believer in Gunner. He talked very well about him after the game. You know, he even mentioned, I heard him say it multiple times, like, I've seen Gunner do these things. It's just a matter of doing it in the game. So, you know, he wants to see those practices obviously translate into games, but it's a lot different when those lights turn on and you got all them people watching. So that's, which I know we're going to get into Tennessee, but that's where my question mark still lies. But I think if Kirby believes in him, I believe in him. So we're just going to have to see.
Yeah, there's something that I think we could all cop out to, that he probably knows how to evaluate quarterbacks better than we do. But at the end of the day, what we see is what we see. You know, we may not be qualified to say who the starting quarterback is, but I think we can all agree when we don't like something that we see. So Logan, go ahead and get us into a little bit of Ole Miss. I know I saw there was a little bit of a rough start. Simmons being an inexperienced quarterback. So just lay into it a little bit.
Well, one quick thing before we go. I got one more thing about Georgia. These rain delay games are also very hard to judge a team off of. When you're sitting there in the locker room for, I don't know how long that delay was, but I know South Carolina was like an hour or two. When you're sitting there like for an hour
Oh,
or two,
buddy, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to get locked into those. So it's like I do give Georgia a little bit of leeway because I'm looking. They didn't even allow 200 yards on defense. So, I mean, they threw for 151, rushed for 45. So they're just under the 200 yards. So, I mean, that's still an impressive performance by Georgia's defense, but it's Kirby Smart. What do you expect? But I just wanted to throw that note in there. When you got the rain delays and stuff like that and you're just kind of sitting around waiting, it does make it a little bit harder to keep that fire going, you know. But as far as Ole Miss goes, I don't know what the hell we are, dog. I don't know. We might win 6 games. We might win 9. I don't know. I don't really see us winning double digits unless we really start improving. But, like, it just feels like a typical – not exclude last year because last year we had the most talent I've ever seen on a single football field for Ole Miss. But it feels like a typical year where it's like we're skating by the skin of our teeth against some of these tough matchups, which, I mean, Kentucky's never crazy good, but we always admit they're kind of like an Arkansas. They're going to battle you every time, and they're going to play tough-nosed football. They're going to win at the line of scrimmage.
They're good for a trap game every year, Logan. I mean, they're good for a couple of trap games every year. I will give that team that credit for sure.
For sure. But then, like, when I'm looking, like, for instance, I got it right now pulled up. SEC leaders in passing. Austin Simmons has 576. So, like, on paper, you're like, oh, okay, that's third most in SEC. On paper, you're like, that looks great. But then you dig a little deeper. He's thrown 3 touchdowns. He has 4 interceptions. He's throwing 60%. Those are not good numbers, especially as a pass-heavy. Like I said, I'm used to pretty good quarterback play. So that scares me. But then the most excited I've been about a running back since Quinshon Judkins, which is only a few years ago. But before Judkins, we didn't get excited about running backs. So Lane Kiffin is bringing that over to us, which is awesome. People love to say he likes to air it out. Lane Kiffin, he likes to run the ball more than people give him
didn't
credit.
y'all have Zach Moss? Didn't Zach Moss play for y'all?
No, he was Vandy, I believe.
I'm tripping. Okay.
Not Zach Moss. I would have took him, but not Zach Moss. But I mean, I'm looking. We got Kwan Lacey from LSU in the transfer portal, and he's got 246 rushing yards on the year already, and that's 34 more than Hardy over at Missouri. So I mean, we got the leading rusher in the SEC. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry. He's got 4 touchdowns already. He's went for 100 plus in both games. We we haven't had the best competition, but Kentucky, the line of scrimmage game for Kentucky is. That's where it always scares me because that's where Ole Miss usually falls short. So, I mean, seeing that we got the leading rusher in the SEC is nice. On top of that, we got Harrison Wallace. Trey Wallace is what he goes by. But, I mean, he's also got 247 in the air, and he's only caught 9 passes. 247 on 9 passes is insane. That's 27.4 that I'm looking at here.
Let's get into it.
I would say he's looked very good, but it's like Ole Miss's skill positions, that's never what we lack. It's always in the trenches. So, for me, it's like we play Arkansas this week, another trap game that I think could I don't even want to say a trap game because they're 2-0.
Yeah, they're a little bit better than a trap team. I think Arkansas is legit enough to beat some teams this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean the bright side for us is they haven't played anybody. I think they were like Alabama A&M and then some other nobody basically. So I mean this is their first real test. Luckily it's our second, so maybe we learned some things from like last week and move forward on it. But I think the biggest problem for us is the growing pains of Austin Simmons right now. I think he has a talent to be great, but one thing I've noticed about him is like there's multiple times where you see him hike the ball and he's locked in on a guy and he's locked. Like once he's locked, he's locked. He's got tunnel vision, and both his picks came from that last week. He's literally hiking the ball and he's locking in on a tight end or a wide receiver, and he's just watching them all the way through. Safety's reading that, like this ain't high school no more, dude. Like they're ready for that.
And it's amazing how small of a nuance that is. So for a quarterback to have that presence of mind to look off the safety, like that's an important, as we all know. So that's a good thing to point out because if you're staring your first option down, I mean,
yeah,
that's lunch for a safety with, who's with a brain.
And I mean, later in the game is when we kind of got into the rhythm, and it was because he's going through progressions. Like, I mean, you're sitting here watching him step back, he's looking him down, then he's going to his next progression. And that's really when we started kind of changing the game. And there was literally a point in this game where we were up 7 like 6 minutes ago, and we ran the ball 3 straight times. And on the third time, Austin Simmons ran it on a quarterback design run and gets hurt. He never came back in the last 6 minutes of the game. And I'm literally watching this, and I'm like, we're up 7 with the ball. Why are we running it 3 straight times? And I think we got like 3 yards. Like we didn't get anywhere with it. So that was terrifying. And literally at that point, I was like, we're about to lose this game. Like Kentucky's going to fuck around and score, and then we're toast. Like that's literally the thought going through my head. Like I've seen this before, like I've seen it. We're about to screw this up. Luckily, we didn't. We ended up getting a defense stop, getting the ball back. I think we scored a field goal or something like that after that. But that was a little questionable for me as the 3 straight runs. But my main thing is still, what is Austin Simmons? How does he bounce back? Georgia State's Georgia State. You're bouncing back and you're going to play your first SEC opponent. You're facing better talent for sure, but it's still hard to watch when you're throwing back-to-back picks. And the sole reason is because you're locked in on a guy. You can't get out of the tunnel vision, and the safety's reading it as he should. Like you're making it a little easy on him. So hopefully we sharpen some things up going to Arkansas next week. Or they're coming to us, but playing Arkansas next week, hopefully we kind of lock in on that. It's actually a night game too, which I'm excited to see that in Oxford. Seems like Lane Kiffin's pushing more for the night games, where in the past Hugh Freeze loved a 12 o'clock game, but come to find out he's doing hookers and stuff behind the back, so it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? He's got to keep his nights available. So I respect that. But Kiffin, becoming a family man over in Oxford, he likes to play night games and have the days with his family.
Dear God.
Hey, you got to call a spade, man.
Yeah.
I love Hugh Freeze. I'll always love
documented.
Freeze, spade's a spade.
So,
but that's about all.
Hugh Freeze coached at Liberty, right?
Yeah, he's at Auburn now.
Hey, he's a wholesome guy, man.
Yeah.
He coached the game from the press box.
Yeah.
He coached the Good Brother Tank.
I was just about to say.
Oh, yeah, that's
He
right.
went to Liberty. I ran into Tank at Stevie B's, and I literally remember telling Tank, like, bro, you're going to the league. And he's like smiling. He's like, I hope. I was like, nah, bro. Hugh Freeze is going to get you in the league. And then that next year, he went off against Baylor for like 270 when they upset Baylor.
Oh, dude, he went nuts. I think he had like
dude,
12
I love
catches
Hugh
for
Freeze.
200.
Yeah, you won't hear me say a bad thing about Hugh Freeze. When
Yeah,
Auburn succeeds, I'm going to say
this show permanently stands behind Hugh Freeze from this moment forward because he did feed our boy Tank, man. So
yeah. Straight up.
We're gonna always give him his flowers for that. Trip, was you able to watch Austin Simmons play this weekend, bro?
Yeah, I was. Shout out to YouTube TV for having multiple screens so I could keep up with a couple at the same time.
$85 a month, man. You should be able to watch Gonzaga play field hockey if you want.
No, seriously. And there's some games I probably would have rather watched than I saw this weekend. But yeah, I mean, Logan obviously hit on most of the points as far as how the game went. I think there was still a lot of impressive things that came out of Ole Miss. Over 450 yards of offense. Lacey, I think, had 138 on the ground, if I'm not mistaken. And to Logan's point, not only is he leading the SEC in rushing, he's one of the only, if not the only, SEC running back to do that against an SEC defense so far this year. So shout out Lacey. Looks like he's off to a great start. Was really enjoying him watching the run the ball. As far as Austin Simmons go, Logan, I hate to say it, but I'm right there with you. I don't know what to expect out of him right now. There's lots of highlights, but there's lots of lowlights. And I think this is just another quarterback in that conversation we're going to keep having is what are we going to see from these young guys? It's not a doubt of does he have the talent, is he going to execute with the talent? So I think there's a lot of great, games to come out of Austin Simmons. I'm hoping that, for your sake, Logan, he can get that out of his system before you face bigger opponents than even Arkansas. But I still think that the good things that you see out of him, you got to take, and move forward with that because that's what you're expecting consistently moving forward. So other than that, I mean, Kentucky is just so hard to defend. They mix plays up so well. And like Graham said, they're due for, knocking somebody off their high horse at least once a year. Ole Miss was lucky enough to come out at the end there. But I mean, they had almost a dead split of passing and rushing on Saturday. And, a lot of teams that play that way are just super tough to defend because you don't know what to throw out there to throw them off because they have something for everything. My biggest question mark on the game, I don't know, maybe if you guys have a better answer than me, but what the hell was that field goal at the end with like 3 seconds to go by Kentucky just to make it a 7-point game? That when Lane Kiffin made the comment about like I'm sorry to the bettors, I thought that was pretty funny. But I mean, other than putting it down on a resume that you only lost by 1 score instead of 2, which I don't take Kentucky as a playoff team anyway. Y'all have any opinion on to why a team would even think about doing that?
I think the idea behind it is let me look real quick because I want to see. Yeah, they did it with 8 seconds left. I think the idea behind it is you hope you get the onside kick and a chance at a Hail Mary. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And I mean, I've seen it happen in like other games, NFL as well, where like they take the early field goal since they're already in position instead of wasting more time trying to score a touchdown so that they can – because either way, you got to get an onside kick. So they kick the field goal, hoping to get an onside kick and a shot or two at the end zone. So it's like I do kind of understand it, but at the same time, it is funny that it put the game over on the over. And then also it made us not cover the spread. So it's kind of a double whammy for the degenerate gamblers, which I don't
Vegas was licking their chops at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny you say that because I remember the first national championship year for Georgia when we were talking about last week when Devontae Wyatt blocked the kick. That happened with like less than a minute left. And Kirby Smart is having, Stetson Bennett just hand the ball off. And then Mark Stoops drives down the field with like seconds left to go up or to go down, I guess 30. I guess it would have been 31-13 was the final, I'm pretty sure. But everybody was watching is like, what are you doing, dude? And the next year, Georgia beat them 52-13. So I guess you got back what you got back.
Fair point. Yeah, fair point.
So, well, yeah, so Rebels got Arkansas this week. I think I'm going to take the Rebels in that one. I'm not sure about how old Sammy Boy has got these boys looking, but Taylor Green, I think he's a legit college QB.
I do as well. Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. So this game not very exciting, but I'm just gonna dive into a little bit of my experience this week. So this weekend, past weekend, had my first experience covering a game with the lovely folks at Sports Illustrated in South Carolina. I think I might have been I've been to an Auburn game before. But One of my, I guess, only other times being outside of a Georgia college game. So that was really cool. Williams-Brice Stadium is it's pretty rowdy. I mean, 2-hour rain delay, and the thing's still like 90% capacity after when a game starts at 9:30. It's electric. Sam Storm was really cool, but it was kind of a mess getting in there. So I get to Columbia at 4:00 ish. Game's not till 7. Press box doesn't open till like 4:30, I think. So I'm like, all right, I'll get there, drop my stuff off, get down there, whatever. So I'm telling y'all, for my Dallas folks, it would probably be like driving from Kroger in Dallas to like Target, if that, in Hiram. So probably about 4 miles ish. Super quick drive. I hop in my GPS, or I hop in my car, put in the GPS to get to the road that I need to get to, and this is 36 minutes. I'm like, dang, that's kind of crazy. Traffic's that long. I did not park my car until 6:28. I was in traffic for almost 2 hours getting to that game, going 4 miles. And in the press conference, Shane Beamer said that's the worst traffic he's ever seen there. So it was absolutely insane. So
Did finally they ever find out what happened?
It was just crazy. Just mad. He said that was the most student tickets that were ever requested at the school.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about there this week. And I'm going to talk about them in a little bit too. But so I finally get in my parking spot. There's like it's permit only parking. So I got to go park there. Stadium's like a 10-minute walk, probably less than that. But I got told to go to like 4 different gates. So like I'm walking around. I don't really know where I'm at. As I'm in there, it starts pissing rain. That same storm that the whole Southeast saw, dude. I was wearing wet jeans from 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. Like it was awful. Finally got where I was supposed to. It was really cool. They were really nice people in there. They brought me my credentials, took me up to the press box. First thing you do when you get in there, they feed you. They're like, hey, go put your stuff down. Come get you some food. So they had some really good food in there, some good chicken. They give you a roster of both teams. And then at least how South Carolina has it in the press box, they've got where you're listed based on who you're affiliated with. So I got to sit on the very front row of the press box. So it was really cool. And the game was supposed to start at 7. Like Graham was talking about earlier, we were like, when does this game start? And it kicked off at 9:21. 9:21. So a huge delay there. But it was amazing, man. I mean, I walked in, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, was Florida. Game was on. So I got to see them lose, which is always fun. Again, I'm not going to make this my burn book, but I got to call a spade a spade. I'm a hater at the end of the day. That's just what I do. But it was really cool. I mean, I got to see, if you guys watched the Virginia Tech game, you saw the punt return from his gentleman named Vakari Swain. And he actually took 2 back in this game. Took one that was a normal punt return and then took one that was blocked back to the crib. So really exciting stuff there.
That one was crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he made a mistake.
Yeah, right, exactly. And he talked about that in the press conference too. The game finally ends at 12:30. So then they take us down to the press conference room, and I got to interview Shane Beamer. I interviewed. So how they do it is they bring the coach in, they bring 2 offensive players in, 2 defensive players. So I got to interview him. I got to interview Lenore Sellers, and Vakari Swain himself. So that was really cool. I mean, that's stuff I've been watching my whole life. And to get to see that or get to do it firsthand, it was pretty overwhelming. Like it was weird, kind of overwhelming. Not like I wanted to cry or anything, but it was full circle, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Hey man, let's clap it up for South Carolina for giving our boy the McConaughey treatment, man. He was out there living like Matthew McConaughey, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like the madman I am, I get back to the Airbnb at like 2:15 a.m. Probably in bed 30 minutes later, and then I got up at 5:30 to drive back down to Atlanta to go to the Falcons game. We're obviously going to talk about more about tomorrow. But real quick, just some things that really concern me about South Carolina. They're also entering SEC play this week against Vandy, who they both played Virginia Tech. Vandy put it on Virginia Tech, but they were kind of doing some corny running up at the end. So could have some karma coming back for that. Some things are really
respect to Vandy though for ending all the Hokies back hype though. They officially ended any hope of the Hokies saying they was coming back. You actually stole one of my random takes, Joey. I had that written down in my little personal notes for this show. Hey, amends
I'm
for
gonna skip
Vandy
that.
for holding it down, for the SEC for shutting that shit down too.
Well, fair enough. You know what? That's we can always hate on the ACC. I have no problem with that. But some things that really concern me with South Carolina, who is ranked 11 right now. They dropped one spot. O-line is bad, man. Straight up. I mean, these guys. Last week, the two starting running back, Lenore Sellers was the leading rusher, and he had 23 yards. The two running backs combined for, I believe, it was 42 yards on 12 carries. Right now, they've picked up the least first downs in the SEC. They have the fourth most penalty yards in the SEC, most sacks allowed, third worst rushing attack, second worst passing attack. And when you've got a Heisman candidate, it really draws some red flags for me. So I'm not really sure how I feel about them against Vandy. I think they've got three absolute aliens in Sellers, Dylan Stewart, who played fantastic this weekend, and Nick Harbor, who's kind of absent, honestly. But I'm worried about them as they get into that. But it was a weird weekend. But there are some things like a lot of procedural issues. They look almost like how like you can tell like the Falcons, they didn't play their guys in the preseason. They look real rusty. It's kind of how it looks with South Carolina. There's a lot of just going through the motions. I mean, they had like 4 false starts in the first half or something crazy like that. Kept them behind the sticks, and they got saved. I mean, the offense has scored 4 touchdowns in 2 games, maybe, if that. So lots of concerning stuff there. I don't know if y'all want to add anything onto that. Kind of just, I know that was probably a easy game to not watch, but I definitely wanted to share that, while I'm doing all my good stuff with them.
One thing I will add is I'm still got the leaderboard pulled up for SEC leaders and whatnot. So South Carolina doesn't have a single player who's ran for 100 yards or received 100 yards. That is insane. For a number 11 team in the nation, that is insane.
To be fair, week 1, Nick Harbor had 99 yards.
And he only has 99 yards today.
Yeah, blanketed last week.
So I'm just saying. And then their leading rusher was like 82. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a top 11 team and you like that's telling me you don't have a rushing or passing attack. That's what that tells me. And it could be the line.
To play devil's advocate to your point, Logan, I guess I will say, as much as South Carolina does struggle from an offensive line standpoint and being able to protect Lenore Sellers, I do think he has some of the richest talents around him in the receiving room, and also just the way that they are able to incorporate that stable of backs that they have behind him. His offensive weapons, I don't think any of us are what's worried about in regards to South Carolina, or the talent that he has at his disposal. It's that offensive line protecting him. So maybe it's just the wealth of riches that they have around Lenore's that maybe hasn't been able to have a guy who's been able to be that bell cow that you're hinting at as far as peaking over 100 yards rushing in a game. I'm not worried about Harbor eclipsing 100 yards in a couple of these big games going on later down the road. But to Logan's point, though, that offensive line, the struggles that come from having a weak offensive line, they only get worse. Georgia fans can tell you that. Unless you have a ton of guys at your disposal to fill in for your injuries on that O-line, those things catch up to you, and you will pick up L's, especially on the road in the SEC if you got a weak O-line. So good points from both of y'all on that, I will say.
And I will say, Sellers has been sacked the most times out of any quarterback in the SEC.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They got his ass looking like Eli back there, but with the Giants, Logan. Yeah.
Well, and I'll say about him getting sacked, I think we all know too, sacks are most indicative of the offensive line, but not always. With these quarterbacks, I think we were talking about it, Graham. Maybe it was somebody else, I can't remember. But with these quarterbacks that are super mobile like he is,
yeah, they do kind of inhibit that at times. I'll give you that. Yeah,
they have too much, maybe sometimes a little too much faith in their athleticism.
Sometimes Lenore's runs out of his protection. I mean, at that point, what can your O-line do but look behind you like, bro, I'm trying. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, week 1, they gave up that safety. I mean, and he couldn't go anywhere. I mean, they collapsed the pocket on them. And that was the concern coming into the season with them is, can these guys run the ball? How's the offensive line? And those two things and it bleeds into because they're in so many obvious passing situations. The defense is able to, sit back and not have to, worry about a run commit. I mean, you've got 2 running backs who barely went over 20 yards. The leading rusher actually had 30 yards, but he got all those in the fourth quarter, for what it's worth. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on this, guys. But I think they'll run away with it. I think they'll beat Vandy. I think
Rocket
Vandy's got it
Sanders
covered.
left an obvious hole in that room. I will say that. I mean, it's looking
Yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
growing bigger and bigger by the day. But I will say I do think South Carolina has always tried to incorporate a 2 to 3 back system, even when they didn't have good guys as good as Rocket Sanders. So Sanders, they're going to have to get back to that. And teams that try and extend plays like South Carolina does have to block better. So they're going to have to figure that out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they got LSU coming up here. After next week, it's Missouri. So, I mean, they've got the good brother Damian
Perkins is Birdman hand rubbing right now. I mean, he's literally he in that film room rubbing his paws. So
yeah. So, anything you guys want to add to that, Trip?
This was a game I didn't really catch a whole lot of because it was going on at the same time as Michigan and Oklahoma. I remember saying before the season started, I thank God we don't have to play this South Carolina team. But now that I've watched them play 2 games, I'm like, man, throw them on the schedule. I don't care. I still think they're a good football team. They have a chance to very well grab one of those last playoff spots, in my opinion, if they keep the ball rolling. But I do think that O-line is a problem. I mean, if you look at the box score, South Carolina State had more yards total of offense than South Carolina did. I think that those 2 punt returns for touchdowns definitely added a little bit of boost to that scoreboard. But
a lot of it.
But again, it's week 2, very sloppy game from the weather, delayed for 2 hours. I mean, you can't really expect a whole lot of games like this. So as a respectable fan, because I got to see the same thing happen to Georgia after a delay and playing down to your opponent, I'm not going to hold this one too much against them.
So we'll see how that goes. But one game we do need to talk about, get into is was Florida, was that our first real big upset of the, I guess, no, Alabama and Florida State. But Florida State, they still
it's starting to look less like an upset now, but yeah.
Yeah.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Graham.
Yeah.
And South Florida obviously ended up walking away with the Florida victory against Florida. It's funny, like I was saying, I walk in there and I look up at the TVs that they have in there, and dude spits on bro from Florida. I was like, what? Like, is this real? And the next thing I know, like, I'm getting all my stuff ready, and I look up and they're kicking the field goal. I was wondering, for one thing, which I guess his point was kind of like, wouldn't have been much different. Why did Billy Napier call 2 timeouts while they're driving?
I got a better question. Why does Billy Napier have a job?
I'll answer that question because they ended last.
He should have a job at Verizon Wireless, but you know what I'm saying? It's I get what you're saying, Logan, for sure. Yeah,
he's dialing up plays when he should be dialing up customers.
Yeah.
Again, I don't ever believe in coaches who call plays on offense as head coaches. I don't believe that it'll ever be successful.
That's been one of his biggest indictments for his whole, tenure at Florida, Joey. I mean, you're beating another dead horse. Sorry once again to the horses, man. We're doing them dirty all episode, but it's been something that people have been giving him stick about his entire career, and he's failed to pivot from that. So he's a dead man walking at this point. We know that, but the Florida board came out like a day later and straight up said we're not firing him, which was crazier to me. It does seem like dystopia down in Gainesville, man. I really can't even give you a pulse or a read on that program, even though I'm enjoying every moment of it. But, it was crazy. I don't know. What was y'all's take on that? Did y'all see that the board came out like less than 24 hours later and said we are not firing Billy Napier?
That was apparently proved to be a fake post.
Oh, so I got, man, don't tell me
we got our
FBI agent Trip.
Yeah.
Hey, regardless, I'll say this.
Got some tell, bro.
Billy Napier's next check, he should just hand that shit to DJ Lagaway because that's the only reason that man's still collecting one. And that's all
on Fraud Watch too, Logan. You too nice.
What?
Well,
Lagway's on Fraud Watch in my book too. You too nice.
No, Lagaway. I'm saying the way he performed last season is the only reason Billy Napier lasted.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And I mean, they
both looking suspect right now.
They ended the season strong last year. Like they really they should have beat Tennessee last year, and then they beat Ole Miss, beat Florida State, which I mean Florida State was horrible, but did they beat LSU last year?
No,
they didn't. Okay, I thought they ended up winning that game. Maybe actually, you know what? Because I was going to ask, because I mean, the way that Florida overplayed how they were, like they outplayed their expectations last year, especially with the schedule. I know they've pretty much got the same schedule this year, minus home and away flopped. But I mean, what if they go in and beat LSU this weekend? What happens there? How do you like
I tell you what, I'll tell you exactly what happens.
I don't
Anybody
even
who
know how to
wants
say
to
it.
bet on Florida this week, I will list my phone number down below, and you let me know how much cash you got, because I promise you, I'll take it all.
Are they going into Death Valley?
Yes.
And
It's most likely a night game too. You know, they get those like 8 games a season. So
what I'm wondering, like, because considering how much he's been out, Lagway hasn't practiced a lot, and you can kind of see that.
I did see that too. I saw a beat reporter bring that up. You make a good point with that, Joey.
He
I'm
hasn't
probably being a
practiced.
little bit unfair and biased with my criticism of Lagway, but yeah, he does definitely look like a guy who was not able to get a lot of snaps in spring or fall camp at all.
He was hurt. I mean, he really didn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Billy, like you were kind of talking about Billy, it seems like Billy's job security and DJ Lagway, they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, if Billy, because I think one day they think too. I don't know why I just mumbled like that, but one thing they probably wonder, if Billy's gone, where does DJ
Lagway's
go?
gone. Lagway's gone if he's gone. I'd
Yeah,
be willing to bet
exactly.
any
Like
dollar amount.
that's a serious thing. I mean, do we just, if you're Florida, do we ride this Lagway thing out? I mean, do the positive Lagway outweigh the negative of Napier? I mean, that, in my opinion, no. But
Does Lagway stay next year anyway? I mean, he does have to play one more season. So does he stay next year regardless? You think?
I'll jump in here because a lot of my rant has to do with Billy Napier. So I'll
go ahead, baby. Take it away.
I'll go ahead and lay into it now. First and foremost, I think a lot of the reason why Billy Napier still has a job is because DJ Lagway is wearing a uniform right now. I think that there were multiple reports that, if I'm not mistaken, came out last year where, when they were talking about firing him last year, DJ Lagway made it very clear, this is why I came to Florida. If he's gone, I'm gone. Now, I don't know if DJ actually said that himself, but I think that's the big speculation around the program right now. Obviously, I think DJ is a hell of a talent, and I don't think the talent across his team is really a question at all. It's just the play calling. I think, other than the side of the fact of like falling to an opponent like this, like they gave up over 400 yards of offense to USF, which giving up 400 yards to anybody is going to be tough to beat. To me, the thing that confuses me so bad, and we can go around the circle and talk about this each individually. I don't know about you guys. I don't see any emotion come out of Billy Napier, good or bad. If it's a really good situation, I don't really see him get fired up and light into the guys. If it's something terrible that happens, like a player spitting on somebody, or you're about to go down at the end of the game with 10 seconds and they pan the camera over and Billy's just standing there like he's just at Cracker Barrel. Like I'm so confused as to, is he invested in this? If you watch the press conferences after the game, he just talks in circles. He says absolutely nothing. He makes blank statements that just keep going and going. Like, you can hear him say, yeah, we got to execute better. We're going to find out where our weaknesses are in practice. Like, I could go out and coach a football team and say that to the presser. That's not that hard. I want to see a coach that does like Kirby. I'm not saying every coach has to be like Kirby or a Nick Saban or whatever, but like, when it comes to the discipline of your team, whether it be good or bad, it really starts to reflect in these games. Like, you guys have all seen clips of Nick Saban lighting into people at practice about not tucking their shirt in. As crazy as that sounds, those little details is what makes your team pay attention to details on Saturday nights. So my biggest question mark isn't even Billy Napier's ability to coach. Is he even want to be there? Because it doesn't look like he does. And I think to end this out and to stop my rant on Billy Napier, I don't even think the loss itself is what needs to be held so much against him. It's that these are games you can't afford to lose when you have the toughest schedule in the country. This slate that they're about to go on is about to be a gauntlet. And for his sake, he better hope he wins every single one of them. Because if they don't win all three of those games that has come up, I believe it's LSU, Miami, and there's one other one that comes right after that.
God, that Miami game could get bad.
I think they're all going to be bad, personally. But if he wants a job, he better win at least two of those three is all I'm going to say. But
I think Florida State is coming around the corner quick for them as well. And Logan, not even to cut you off.
That's rivalry week.
Oh, okay. So that's way at the end. Logan, what were you saying, bro?
I was just letting Trip know the next game they got is Texas.
Yeah, that's right. They got to go. They go back to back. LSU, Miami, and then Texas. All three back to back.
I think they got A&M the week after.
God.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Nonchalant gimmick, to your point, Trip, about Napier, the nonchalant gimmick works when you're innovative and the play calling is fresh. But when those things are lacking, you have to be able to lean on other things, i.e., how you motivate guys, the type of energy that surrounds your program, even when the results may not be, rolling in your favor. Kirby's had to rely on some of those things, not to get it into Georgia, but had to rely on a few of those things here recently in these last couple of seasons, falling back on our DNA, our team's DNA and who we are. Billy Napier's never been able to address that. He knows the talent, and we know the talent that's on his team, and he gets those players involved. But at the end of the day, Billy Napier has gotten to a point to where I think he's maxed out what he's able to provide this team. Now this team needs somebody who's going to come in and actually be a culture setter. Sherrone Moore kind of gives me similar vibes. He's somebody who's great at his job. He has great moments under his belt that he's accomplished both as a coach already and as an assistant. But he does worry me when it comes to being in those real lively environments like he was in Oklahoma, how he's able to scruff his team together by the neck. So you made some real good points right there, Trip. A lot of things that I think about frequently when I ask why Florida is as bad as they've been recently. So.
And one last thing I will add, and this is not something that I said. This is something, and their names will be disclosed forever until they decide to come on this podcast and speak for themselves. I am hearing from Florida fans that I know on a personal level that this needs to go higher than Billy Napier. This needs to get spoken about at an AD level, because think about it. Who's the last good coach that Florida's had? And if we're being completely honest, Florida, they might not have been good or like great over the last, 6-7 years-ish, even longer maybe. Florida's a blue blood program at the end of the day. Like whether they're average this year or the last 5 years, doesn't matter. They're still a blue blood program. And that's a job that a lot of coaches would kill to have. So it's at one point, and this is what I'm hearing from these Florida fans, I'm not saying this is my opinion, but I do agree with it, is at some point it has to go even higher than Billy Napier and go, okay, what are we doing when we're hiring these people? And what is the vision that's not being accomplished? Because clearly the last 3 to 4 coaches have not worked out. Something's got to give. And so I think maybe you even take it to that perspective.
My question is, if I'm a Florida fan, like I know obviously the recruiting stuff went bad. The last year was bad. Why did we give up on Dan Mullen so fast?
Okay. Thank you. I've been waiting my turn for this. Dan Mullen was 31-9 through 40. Fuck Dan Mullen. He killed Ole Miss multiple years in a row, but the dude can coach football. Dan Mullen was 31-9 at Florida and got fired. This man, Billy Napier, is 20-20 and has a job. Why? What are we doing, Florida? Like, what are we doing? Like, that's what kills me is like Dan Mullen's a damn good coach, and he's a good quarterback coach at that. Like, the quarterbacks that man has put to the NFL and won Heisman with when he's Tebow. He had Cam Newton in the locker room in Florida. Dan Mullen can coach, especially quarterbacks. So, like, when I'm seeing stats, they're saying he was 31-9. You know who else was 31-9 through their first 40 games at Florida? Urban Meyer. Do you think that Florida fans hold them in the same regard? I get it. Dan Mullen didn't want to recruit. It's 2025. You don't have to recruit. The money is involved. You're Florida. You don't have to recruit anymore. I get it. A few years ago, it's a little different. But now, I think a lot of Florida fans would reconsider a Dan Mullen because you don't have to recruit. You have the money. You're blue blood, like Tripp's saying. I think a Dan Mullen at Florida getting fired is crazy. And now you got Billy Napier 20-20 losing the USF, and he's still got a job. Like, what are we doing? And not to mention,
go ahead, Logan.
Not to mention, one thing that killed me about the Florida game is they had the lead at the end. USF, all right, first off, Byron Brown's a dog, the quarterback for USF. He was playing a great game. They were talking about how he's like 6'4", 240. Like, the dude's an animal. He threw for 263, ran for 66. I mean, he had a hell of a game. Shout out to him. But Florida was shooting themselves in the foot time after time on that final drive. They had like a 15-yard for the spit in the face. They had a couple pass interferences. And it's like, as soon as it looked like they might skate away with a nail biter, like, got that out the way. No, they shot themselves in the foot again. So it goes back to kind of like Tripp saying, like, Billy Napier's on the sideline, and he's just like, where are we eating after this? That's all he gives a shit about. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, dude, like, light a fire under somebody. Like, get going, bro. You're 20-20. Like, DJ Lagaway, he can't hide behind him forever, man. What irks me is you had a coach that was 31-9 and you cut him. You got a guy who's 20-20, you're standing behind him. I don't understand that thought process at all.
I watched, there was a play where, what's their receiver's name? Eugene Wilson?
Yeah.
They run some trick play, which the trick plays were egregious. They ran a play where I'm assuming 180-pound receiver, is blocking a 3 technique who is double his weight. Who is drawing that up?
Billy Napier.
That is a central drawing of a play. Like, why like that? And I know it's a very minute thing, but it could be, telling of other things. But why would you draw up a receiver to block a 3 technique? You know what I mean? Like that seems indicative to me of what's going on in there. It's just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like that was a blunder to me where I'm like, okay, I think I understand like what are all the issues are here.
And I think another thing too is the difference in a Billy Napier, and you were talking about the lackadaisical thing, and it made me think about a video I saw this week on social media. Last week, Nebraska was up 33-0 at half to Akron, I think it was. Matt Rule is in the locker room lighting them boys up. I don't know if y'all seen this video. He is lighting them boys up. It's like that's the kind of fire you need. Like that's the Nick Saban, the Kirby Smart mentality. Like once you get complacent, you're losing. Like you always got to strive to be better. And Billy Napier's 20-20 could give a shit less if they get better, I feel like. And I mean, Florida's too dominant of a program and too much historic value in the SEC for us to just have like football is better when Florida's good. Like they're one of those schools, and that's all.
It pains me that that's right.
What's that?
It pains me that that's right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's true, like
you're right. No, for 100%.
Just watching the video of Matt Rule, and then like you're talking about Trips, like Trips saying like you see Billy Napier on the sideline and he's wondering what's it for dinner, just blows my mind. Like I don't understand it, dude.
It's hilarious.
And I think another thing too, Logan, I know you had mentioned like Dan Mullen goes 31-9. They cut the cord. They move on to Billy Napier. He's 20-20. What are we doing? I think to go back to the Dan Mullen thing, when he gets fired, that's what you expect out of a blue blood program. Is this isn't enough for what our expectations are, and that's where I'm kind of getting at to go like along with your point is where have those expectations fallen to, and I think that's why that conversation does need to go to a higher level of almost like an AD perspective. And I don't know if a lot of that is because maybe they fear that DJ Lagway leaves if Billy Napier leaves. I think if Florida loses 6-7 games, like Graham made a good point, is DJ Lagway guaranteed in a Florida uniform next year regardless. So I think that another thing that Joey said that I really like as well is how many head coaches out there that call plays are actually that successful. I mean, by successful, I mean like taking it to a championship level. So I think there's plenty of coaches out there that would love nothing more than to take Billy Napier's spot and be a coach for the Florida Gators. But I think the other question that you have to ask is if they do fire Billy Napier, mid-season and they have an interim coach, who are they truly going to go after in the next season? So. And Lane Kiffin is apparently the lead.
I was just about to say, shut up. Don't even mention Lane. It happens every time.
I'm just reading what I see on the internet, brother. I'm not saying he's the man for the job.
I feel like we would be remiss not to at least address that elephant in the room, which is how would Florida go about, moving forward if they were to let go of Billy Napier, especially mid-season?
You got to hit a home run. You got to hit a home run.
There's really any obvious answer. So they almost backed into a corner. Especially with whatever pressure Lagway is putting on them as far as keeping Napier around. They're pretty much backed into a corner to keep him until the offseason. But even then, who are they about to flip from another program? Because there's not really any OCs that are shining to me unless they were going to be able to somehow miraculously convince, Todd Hartley up in Ohio State.
Todd Hartley's Georgia, brother. You talking about Hartline?
Brian Hartline out in Ohio State to be their OC. That's the only, coordinator that I could see potentially filling in a role like that. They're more than likely going to have to go hunt down somebody's active head coach, maybe Dillingham out in Arizona State, young, brilliant offensive mind. You could maybe see something like that panning out with the pieces that they have, him coming in and being able to, keep Lagway at a, high level. But those are really, the questions that have to come to mind when you are a Florida Gators fan right now, looking down the tunnel at Billy Napier's future.
I think you got to hit a home run. Your next hire has got to be a home run. You can't.
Random thought.
You can't half step. It's got to be a homer. Sorry, Logan. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I just got a random thought that popped in my head when he mentions Ohio State and Florida in the same conversation. Urban Meyer's not retired. That's all I'll say.
I think he's done. I think that's over with.
Urban Meyer's not retired.
I think another thing that's really important to note is, not only is it
grab that Arizona State coach trip, but go ahead.
It's not I don't know if it's a matter of who do they have to go after, who is actually going to want to fill that spot. I mean, you got coaches like Lane Kiffin who are always going to come up for some reason in any conversation about an open head coach spot. Lane Kiffin might have the biggest job security in the country. If he wins 9 games plus a year, They are going to continue to extend him. And look, yeah, he's got okay. I see it. That man is going to continue to get extended every single year in and year out as long as he wins 9 games a year. I'm fully convinced of that. So, there might be great coordinators out there, but I'm with Joey on this one. I think it has to be a home run pick, or else they might wipe out that whole front office. And I don't think a coordinator is the route to go. I think Graham's right. I think it has to be an established head coach that is willing to take a paycheck to go to it. But who's that going to be?
There's, to me, all the guys that you could think of, like I've seen for some reason Dan Lanning pop up. Why would he ever leave Oregon? Lane Kiffin, I think he's an Ole Miss lifer. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially with how they've helped him personally. I don't think
Arizona State was winning 1 and 2 games a season before Dillingham got over there, and now them boys is winning almost consistently 9 to 10 games a year. He has Levitt in that offense, looking like a real pro level quarterback, better than Drew Aller, in my opinion. I think he's everything that people act like Drew Aller is. I think he's fitting for that Florida program.
I like that,
because Florida is still a work in progress. And I think Kenny Dillingham is still somebody who has room to ascend as a coach. I think he's a great fit for them. I couldn't see Lane leaving for them. I could see Lane leaving for Bama when they canned the board. That's what I could see.
My thing is, I think just a few quick points, and I think we spent way too much time on Florida because what are we doing? But one quick point: if Lane Kiffin didn't leave for LSU, I really don't know who he would leave for unless it's Alabama, because I think LSU is the most. I mean, if you don't go to LSU over Ole Miss, which is obviously the better school, then I don't think you're leaving unless it's like your dream school, like an Alabama of some sort. But another thing I'll mention, who's to say if a big school like Florida gets back into the head coaching pool, who's to say they don't try to plug someone from the NFL? Why not go after like a Cliff Kingsbury or something? Somebody who's an OC and maybe wants to go back to the college level. I mean, not to say that he's interested. I have no idea, but names like that come to mind. Someone who's already been to college, who's now an OC and, had his stint in Arizona, all that. But who's to say someone like that doesn't try to come back? Because, I mean, we know he's an offensive-minded guy. So, I mean, maybe they take a look at somebody in the NFL, not just, just to broaden the spectrum and not just say college.
Gruden's name always flies in that talk, too.
Who's that?
Gruden.
That's who Jace wants. That is who Jace – he said, bring me John Gruden. That's what Jace said.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. But
that's all I got for Florida.
Well, let's go ahead and let's wrap this. Actually, we got y'all want to get, before we do the predictions, y'all want to get into the SEC schedule, or do y'all want to say that for another time?
We'll run that back next week. Let's go ahead and jump in these predictions.
All right, that's cool, man. All right. Well, for the interest of everybody's time, we're gonna go ahead and get into the some predictions for this week. Again, appreciate everybody who's been here for this long. Really, we'll be back tomorrow too with our NFL episode. But here I'm gonna pull this up. Can y'all see the schedules right here?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay, cool. So we got a few games here. Let me get my notes pulled up. So one that I think is really interesting is Clemson at Tech tomorrow. Clemson's 3.5-point favorite. I think Tech's a really hard team to prep for, especially how good Buster Faulkner is. I do think Clemson's going to win this, but I don't think this is going to be an easy game for Clemson. As we talked about, Haynes King is a gamer. Give me Clemson, but do not be surprised if Tech makes it nasty.
I agree.
This is my sleeper pick of the week. If I was going to pick an upset, it would be Tech out of all the games this week. If you would have asked me week 0 or preseason who's going to win this game, I'd be like, oh, yeah, give me Tech. I'd love to see an upset there. Now that Tech struggled against Colorado, I don't think they do much against that Clemson defense, but I could very well see if Clemson plays down to Tech like they did against Troy this week, Tech can easily run away with this.
Yeah, you kind of hitting on what's got me worried as well, Trip. Clemson's defense is way too good to look as bad as they did against Troy, and they looked really just unmotivated. Good defenses motivate themselves. They almost, get pissed off when teams do good against them, and I didn't feel that way watching Clemson. So I am going lean Tech in this one. I got them going with the upset.
All right, cool. Logan, did you already pick yours, Logan?
No, but I think it'll be a dogfight, but Clemson maybe edge. I'm going Clemson edging this one out in a dogfight. But hey, Haynes King magic, it might happen. Who knows?
We'll see. Next one up in this list at least. Game day, Georgia at Tennessee. It's crazy. If you look at all the tickets, some of them are pretty expensive, but that game is like $150 more than the next expensive ticket, at $365. But Georgia, 3.5-point favorite over Tennessee. That went down. It was 7 at one point. So Vegas may know something we don't. I'm going to pick this same thing when I pick Georgia and Alabama here in a few weeks. Tennessee has lost 8 years in a row to Georgia by double digits, no matter where they play at. There's something about Josh Heupel's offenses to me. I think they're very good. But there's something when you put them on a team or put them on a field with equal athletes or the talent is as good or equal, they look very stifled. I think Aguilar, Georgia defense, I think is going to show out this weekend. I think you're going to really see who they are this weekend against a team that's super talented. I think Tennessee's 2 starting corners are out this week. So maybe, that's the opportunity Gunner needs to really get going. Give me the Dogs. I'm definitely taking them to cover. I can't ignore the double-digit winning streak, 2-touchdown streak at that. So give me the Dogs. And I know last week's probably not indicative of it. I think the Dogs are going to dominate this one.
Take us away, Graham.
I'm kind of expecting Nate Frazier to kind of have almost like a Todd Gurley versus Clemson-esque performance as far as what we need from an offensive standpoint to help us prevail in this game on the road in a really tough environment out in Neyland. As far as the defense is concerned, I'm hoping that they can kind of give us their best impression of how the Dogs played in that season opener against Clemson back in 2021. Like, I really need them to suffocate those guys. That's my bias input. As far as my actual prediction for the game, I do have the Dogs coming out on top, but I don't have it being nearly as wide of a margin as it's been in years prior. I don't see us beating them by more than 10 points this weekend.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a lot of the similar points as you guys do. I'm kind of, with Joey, history repeats itself kind of thing, and I'll probably have the same thing to say when we play Alabama here in a few weeks. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a game we look back on. I do have Georgia picked to win this. I don't even know that we cover 3.5. I think this one could very well come down to the last team to have the ball. I think that it's by a touchdown at the absolute most, but I think this is when we look back at next week and say, thank God for this defense. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this is an offensive explosion game. But if the defense continues to look as sharp as it does, I don't see us having a problem with this one, but I do think it's going to be a tight one regardless.
Both of Tennessee's starting cornerbacks are out of this game, fellas. That's been confirmed. Even their outlets have already confirmed that. We have to find a way to exploit the outside, and I do think Gunner is talented enough to do that.
Let's hear it, Logan.
Yeah, I'm rolling with Georgia. I mean, Kirby Smart might as well own Neyland, as far as I'm concerned. What I said.
Oh, that's same for Junior, buddy.
It's I mean, all on the points you hit on, but I do think it's time for Stockton to nut up or shut up. I do think. If he goes out and throws for 250 and runs for 50, Georgia fans, I would be ecstatic if y'all aren't. But I think if he goes out, throws for 250, maybe runs for 50. Nate Frazier, lean on him and a couple of the other backs you guys got. But I think if Gunner's going to be the guy, this is the time to have a coming out party. This would be an excellent time to win some Georgia fans over. And I honestly, other fans around the league, because I've said it since week 1, I don't know if I believe in Gunner Stockton's arm. I know he can run a little bit, but I need to see what he's got, and this is a great week for him to prove it.
This is also his first true road game.
It is.
That'll be, Tennessee is one place to really explore that. So we'll see, but go Dogs no matter what. Next, I saw this one, and I didn't even realize it because I saw they were ranked. We got number 18, South Florida, who just came with a huge victory over Florida, obviously, that we just talked about forever, at Miami. Funny enough, Miami does not leave the state of Florida for a football game until November 1st.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think it's a good story. Like Graham said, that quarterback is a baller at South Florida. Miami looks good, man. Miami looks good. They look really good. I think they're going to roll. I don't know if they'll cover 18.5. I think that's pretty steep. but I am gonna take Miami by at least a tie. I'll give me by 10.
Yeah, I got Miami in this one as well. Funny enough, me and Joey will actually be in Miami this weekend. And with those ticket prices that I'm seeing on the screen right now, I don't see a reason why the hell we don't go to this game. But I don't see them covering 18.5 by any means. I think this could easily be a game where we see Carson, exit within the third quarter at some point, hopefully, based on, what we've seen so far out of Miami. But again, South Florida has been one of those teams that is like a Kentucky that will shock you. They gave Alabama a really hard time last year. They obviously just gave Florida a hell of a time as well. I think that they have a very talented roster, but I do think that Miami takes care of business at home. And that's not even really home for them, I guess. But
yeah, I'm gonna back up y'all. I think Miami finally knocks South Florida off their little Cinderella run. I will say this though. South Florida is 2-0, and they're 2-0 against ranked opponents.
Yeah.
They did beat a 25-ranked Boise State. So, I mean, I'm not going to say like South Florida's fraud by any means, but I think next week we see South Florida maybe sitting at 24-25, and I think Carson Beck, Miami, gets the job done and kind of knocks them off their pedestal a little bit. But, hey, doesn't mean South Florida doesn't go on and win whatever conference they play in these days. I can never keep up with Sun Belt, Conference USA, American. They all – flip around. Like,
hey, I'm hearing chatter that they could be one of the top-rated conference champions and sneak their way into the playoffs if the cards fall right this year.
Hey, they could be last year's Boise State. Who knows?
Last year's SMU. Really? Yeah. But yeah, no, I got the Canes taking care of business as well. I believe in the Tony Carson Beck connection. And some of those relationships that he's already building here early on with the Hurricanes, Carson, that is, with those wide receivers that they have, I think is going to be enough for them to prevail in this matchup. So they'll get the dub this week in my book.
All right. Well, two more games to look at here. Florida, LSU. Maybe honestly, that may not even be one to get to. LSU's on 7.5-point favorite in this one. LSU really didn't play super well last week, but again, that's Southeast. I don't think anybody really did if your name's not Alabama or Florida State. I'm going to take the Tigers here. I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. I don't think they cover in this one, just because two teams coming off rough weeks. You never know how that's going to go. Nussmeier for Heisman. I'm going to be on that train till it falls off the rails. But yeah, I'm taking LSU in a close one. Night game confirmed 7:30. I'm looking at it right now.
Start us off, Graham. What's your thoughts?
I do think Brian Kelly has, in a lot of ways turned a corner with this LSU team. And in some of these more high-profile matchups, I think when you're undecided as far as like what teams, like how you rate their current form. Of course, there's always going to be a way that you look at a team on paper and how one team's talent stacks up on, against the others. But as far as in-season form is concerned, I think I am kind of like splitting hairs with these two teams. So I'm going to lean with coaching. I do believe more in Brian Kelly right now than I believe in the Gators. And that's just simply that. I'm going to go, with the Tigers. Give me LSU.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that a lot of this is going to come down to coaching. And like Joey said, I think this is going to be a much closer game than people anticipate. I don't think LSU goes in here and blows them out by any means, but I know as a Georgia fan, I don't care who is on that roster at LSU. I do not want to be in Tiger Stadium at night. So that's a tough task. Right. There's a reason why that's one of the top-rated stadiums to play in, no matter who they are. But I do think Tigers take care of business. Spread is what, 6.5? 7.5?
Yeah, no, 7.5.
It's gonna be close. But like I said before, I'm gonna stand on it. I will put my phone number in the link if anybody would like to lose their money on this one. But again, it's just SEC. Anything can happen. If Billy Napier wants to save his job, this would be a quick way to do it. So.
I agree with that exact last statement that Tripp said. If he wants to save his job, this would be a hell of a time to do it. But it ain't happening. It's Death Valley. I've been an Ole Miss fan my whole life. I've seen lots and lots of Death Valley night games, and them boys are a little different down there in the bayou. They call it Death Valley for a reason. Nussmeier's going to do his thing. I mean, I don't think they're going to fold him by any means. I think Lagaway will bounce back, have a solid game, and try to prove himself. But at the end of the day, kind of like Graham's saying as well, you got to go with coaching on this. Brian Kelly's kind of earned his stripes the last couple of years over at LSU. Started off a little rocky, but I mean, I believe more in LSU than I do Florida, especially after last week. So I mean, if you're going to lose USF at home, have a hard time buying that you're going to go into Death Valley against LSU at a night game and take that from them. So I'm going to LSU here as well.
All right, so I don't think anybody's disagreed on one yet. So we're gonna wrap it up with our last one. Number 16, A&M at Notre Dame. For me, just in terms of playoff, this is probably a must-win game for Notre Dame, I would say. With A&M, I think last year they beat A&M early. Am I remembering that correctly? Or no, because they beat them and then lost to Northern Illinois.
That's and it happened the following week, the exact next week.
Yes, right. So, I think not in the same way where it's a must-win game, not for Marcus Freeman's job, obviously, that he'll never go anywhere as long as he wants to be at Notre Dame. But for the playoffs, they're a 6.5-point favorite in this game. For the playoffs, they've got to win this game. I mean, they last year, no 3-win team got in the playoffs that didn't win a conference championship, and obviously they don't have that luxury of competing for that. I'm going A&M. I'm going A&M. I think Marcel Reed. I think he's a very special athlete. And I think he really makes some plays happen this weekend and pulls off the upset in South Bend.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one, Joey. So I guess we're finally gonna have a disagreement. Well, Graham picked Tech against Clemson, so that was the first one. But as far as this game goes, I'm a big believer in Marcus Freeman. I love him as a head coach. But I think that, when we talked about college football as a whole in our first episode last week, we talked about how you don't have to be perfect anymore to make the playoff. That's not the case for Notre Dame. You don't play in a conference, so you cannot let any of these games slip through the cracks. If this game was at Kyle Field, maybe you would have a different opinion on that. I just think that, they have a defense over there. They've proven they're not scared to show you. They're going to show you man all day long and still shut you down. So I am going to go Notre Dame with this one. Again, coaching, but also that defense, I think, take care of business.
Texas A&M has failed to show me this year that they can consistently stop the run, especially against players to the magnitude of Jeremiah Love, somebody who is as talented as him. I think that Notre Dame approaches this game more sensibly than Texas A&M. I think that Notre Dame's coach and just coaching staff as a whole is a little bit better prepared for this game simply because they made the playoffs last year. This team is still carrying a lot of that energy that took them on the run that they went on last year, as far as we know what parts about ourselves that we need to trust to get us out of big games. And Texas A&M has consistently shown us that they don't know that answer. They got tons of talent. Just a few years ago, they had the record-breaking composite score on 24/7, and I think they totaled out 7 or 8 wins that year. Of course, they ended up picking up Elko after that. That led to Jimbo Fisher's firing. But either way, Mike Elko showed us on a few times last year. He couldn't really decide whether to go left or right in certain games with Marcel Reed or with Connor Wegman, I believe was their second quarterback last year.
He was the guy.
Like that. Consistently twiddling your thumbs in these big games, whereas a coach like, I hate to be this guy, Kirby's gonna ride with his guy and maybe use that, those, bottom, or those moments where your quarterback is, playing more towards the bottom of his floor, and use it as motivation to get him closer towards his ceiling in those big games. So, yeah, give me Notre Dame, man. I think that they're going to handle this really professionally. It's going to be a close one, but they're going to take care of business, especially at home.
I'm going to rock with Notre Dame as well, and I think the biggest reason why is Notre Dame's coming off a loss and a bye week. It's a lot of food for thought for them boys. They lose to Miami in a nail-biter. They have a bye week to prepare for A&M, and I think that could be all – and it's a home game for Notre Dame. So I think all three of those just check the box to why I'm going to lead Notre Dame. And I'm kind of with Tripp. I mean, screw Notre Dame, quit being a sissy, join a conference, grow up. But Marcus Freeman's a pretty damn good coach, and he's proven that. So I think him coming off a loss in a bye week and playing at home, I think that's That's all I need to see, to be honest with you. So I'm going Notre Dame.
And not to go back to what we talked about with Florida and who they're going to hire as a coach, but the people who were posting the favorite odds of the next person to take that job, pretty sure Marcus Freeman was like 3rd or 4th on that list. So not saying that that's a guy that's going to leave a prestigious program like Notre Dame to go take over Florida, but I did see a lot of Florida fans chirping like we would love nothing more. So he ain't going nowhere, though.
I won $1 billion. We're just making wishes.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap it up. Guys, again, appreciate everybody tuning in at this point. We'll be back. Go ahead, Logan. I'm sorry.
My bad. I keep muting my mic. I'm trying to avoid the coughs, so sorry about last week. But one last thing. One upset we did not mention, and it's crazy that I'm going to be the one to mention this. Mississippi State got it done against Arizona State.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's awful on our part.
Mississippi State came out. They got a good lead. Arizona State fought back like Arizona State was going to snap out of it. Mississippi State had a big play, I think, right at a minute left to take that lead. So I will say
30 seconds.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. I would say I know it was late in the game. They had that big play. So I will say bravo to them making SEC look good, winning a big game against Arizona State like that. And I mean, I'm not even trying to be an Ole Miss fan here, but I couldn't tell you last time I seen Miss. It's been since Dan Mullen. Let's bring this round circle here. Since they've had a big win like that. So I mean, it is scary for me, but it's impressive to see that SEC's really and truly. And I think I saw a stat that said this is the most teams SEC's ever had ranked. And you got to think Florida is just outside the top 25, and Mississippi State after that win has to be right outside top 25 as well. So I just want to give a little bit of flowers to the rival. They got the job done against a pretty good Arizona State team, and that's another upset that somehow we glossed over. So
yeah,
that was a well-worthy shout-out, Logan. Yeah,
that was our bad.
That's not the dogs I'll root for. I'll root for y'all's dogs, not those dogs. But
that's
gotta
right.
give that little shout out.
Well, that's definitely the right one to do. So my bad on that. But nonetheless, I appreciate everybody tuning in, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Talk some NFL, talk about all the primetime games. Are the Dolphins done? What are the Giants going to do? And look at some games that we got this week. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. But that ain't it. Everybody have a lovely night, fellas. Peace.
Peace.